Please don't forget subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notified of new daily videos.
My husband, Brendan Samuels, and I always dreamed of restoring the old guest house we inherited from his side of the family. It's a charming, slightly run-down property near Lake Obsidian, steeped in local history, and came with a small, detached workshop we planned to convert into a rental unit to fund the extensive renovations. Everything was going smoothly until Brendan's sister, Katrina Marshall, decided to involve herself. Katrina has always been a black hole of entitled delusion. She fancies herself an antique collector, though she's really just a hoarder with champagne tastes and a beer budget. She'd always been intensely jealous of anything good that came our way. So, when she heard about the guest house, her focus immediately latched onto one specific item in the workshop: a colossal, non-functional vintage letterpress printing machine, along with several crates of extremely heavy, rare typesetting blocks. She claimed they were willed to her by our late grandfather, which was technically true if they were still at his primary residence. But the guest house and all its contents had been bequeathed directly to Brendan and me. We tried to explain that the letterpress was a permanent fixture for us, weighing well over 1,000 pounds, and it was entirely non-operational. It needed immense, costly restoration, and frankly, it was blocking the space we desperately needed. But Katrina, ever the drama queen, started with the threats. She'd call Brendan daily, screaming that we were trying to steal her valuable inheritance, that she'd sue us for destruction of property, for theft, for anything she could think of. She demanded we move it to a storage unit for her, at our expense, of course, because she had no space in her perfectly manicured suburban home. This went on for months, and it was stalling our entire renovation project, threatening our financial future. Brendan was torn between family loyalty and pure exasperation. I, however, had reached my limit. She wants her inheritance, I told Brendan one evening, a steely resolve settling over me. Then she's going to get it, all of it. My plan was meticulous. First, I researched Katrina's neighborhood. She lived in a pristine, HOA-governed community known for its strict rules on exterior aesthetics and driveway obstructions. Bingo. Then, I spent weeks subtly observing her schedule, nodding when she and her partner were typically out, when the house was quiet. The letterpress was massive and required specialized equipment. I rented a heavy-duty hydraulic pallet jack, a winch, and a robust flatbed trailer, all under a fake business name and obscure online rentals. I told Brendan I was going to use the trailer for clearing debris from the guest house property, which wasn't entirely a lie. On the chosen night, a Thursday, I kissed Brendan goodbye, told him I'd be back before dawn. He looked at me, a mixture of fear and admiration in his eyes. "Just be careful, Kirsten," he whispered. The move itself was grueling. I spent hours alone in that dimly lit workshop, the air thick with the smell of old paper and rust. Using the pallet jack, I painstakingly maneuvered the behemoth press onto the trailer. The winch groaned, the chains clanged, but I patted everything I could to muffle the sounds. I then loaded the heavy wooden crates of typesetting blocks, securing them tightly. By 11 p.m., I was on the road, a 3-hour drive to Katrina's suburban kingdom. I arrived at her house around 2:30 a.m. The neighborhood was eerily silent, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. My heart pounded, but my hands were steady. I backed the trailer up Katrina's wide, empty driveway, positioning it perfectly. Using the hydraulic jack and the winch, I slowly, carefully deposited her inheritance. The press landed with a muted thud that still felt deafening in the stillness. I ensured it was placed strategically, squarely in the middle of her driveway, blocking access to her 2-car garage, and just enough into the street to be an obvious obstruction. The heavy crates of typesetting blocks were neatly stacked beside it. I left no trace, no dropped tools, nothing. I was back on the highway by 3:00 a.m., a grin splitting my face. The next morning, the call came, predictably, to Brendan. Katrina's voice was a high-pitched shriek, practically vibrating the phone. I calmly walked over, put the phone on speaker, and said, "You wanted your inheritance, Katrina. You got it. Enjoy." Then I hung up. Brendan just stared at me, then burst into relieved, incredulous laughter. But the real show was just beginning. Within hours, the neighborhood was abuzz. Katrina, fuming, called the police, claiming illegal dumping. Officer Aloha arrived, took one look at the massive, rusty contraption blocking her driveway, then looked at a disheveled Katrina, and you could practically see him mentally checking out. I got a call from a restricted number later that day. It was Officer Aloha. I calmly explained the situation. That Katrina had been threatening legal action against us for trying to dispose of her legally claimed property, and that it was now, indeed, on her property. I denied ever being near her house, of course. Anyone could have left it there, I said, mimicking her own past statements. The officer, realizing it was a civil matter and not a criminal one, with no evidence linking me, pretty much washed his hands of it. Then came the HOA. Oh, the sweet, sweet HOA. Letters started arriving, escalating from polite notices to hefty fines for unsightly storage and obstruction of common access. Neighbors complained vociferously about their property values. Katrina, who lived paycheck to paycheck despite her pretensions, couldn't afford a specialized moving company to remove the beast. The fines piled up. After weeks, the city itself got involved, deeming it a public nuisance and a traffic hazard. They issued an ultimatum: remove it or they would, at her expense, with additional impoundment fees. The cost estimates for professional removal were astronomical, far beyond anything Katrina could manage. Her precious inheritance became a financial black hole, sucking away her savings, her credit, and ultimately her peace of mind. I didn't hear from Katrina again for months, not directly anyway. But Brendan heard through the grapevine. The HOA put a lien on her house. She had to take out a high-interest loan just to cover the city's removal costs and some of the fines. The whole ordeal decimated her finances, pushing her to the brink of bankruptcy. She had wanted her inheritance so badly, and now it was a permanent, heavy burden she could never shake. It was the perfect, poetic justice. Katrina got exactly what she demanded, delivered with interest, and watching her world unravel under the weight of her own greed and entitlement was the most satisfying reward I could have ever asked for.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up button to like it. And please do subscribe to support the channel.